Hey everybody, welcome to Autism Awakening, the podcast that helps you help your family with autism. I'm Dr. Jared Skowron, and happy World Autism Awareness Week. Today is April 4th, 2024, and we're recording our podcast live on our Spectrum Awakening Facebook page. So if you're ever interested in taking part of a live recording, feel free to come on over to our Spectrum Awakening Facebook page Thursdays at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can watch our live recording of Autism Awakening. So this is going to be the finale of our 2024 mini-series of biomedical everything with autism. So what we've been doing since the beginning of 2024, since the beginning of January, is kind of walking through all the medical issues of autism and how you can help evaluate that with your child, what those medical issues, how those medical issues create symptoms in your child, and what we can do about it naturally. So what I wanted to do today is kind of put everything together in one podcast. So you can go back through the past 3 months, January, February, and March, and listen to all of these individual topics in detail. But I wanted to do today is just put it all together, one big lump. Here's research on everything. Here's different supplements on everything. And of course, the first week of April, World Autism Awareness Week, Day, etc., is when Spectrum Awakening offers its biggest sale of the year. Normally, Spectrum Awakening offers 20% off during our podcast, but we do 25% this week and Black Friday in November. So if there's anything that you wanted to try, whether it be a supplement, whether it be a lab test, whether it be stocking up on the stuff that your child uses all the time, now's the time to do it. So let's walk through everything biomedical. Now, the first thing I want to start with, I had this created a while back, but I haven't shown it in a while. This is my autism flower. So this flower talks about or kind of highlights the 7 medical aspects of autism, starting with autoimmunity and going to brain chemistry and detoxification, genetics, problems with gut health and digestion, and imbalances in hormones and mitochondria. Now, autism is a very complex medical issue. It's very complex. It's not a straightforward medical thing like, hey, I've got asthma or I've got cholesterol, and boom, one little thing, and we're gonna tweak it. Autism involves a lot of different parts of the body. That's why it's a struggle to help improve, and that's why a lot of mainstream doctors that don't specialize in this just don't know how they can help. I'm sure they want to help. And of course, they refer you to developmental evaluations, early interventions, different therapies, and that's great. But there's so much medical that we can do with our kids. So this is where I'm trying to help you guys help your kids as much as possible. So what we're going to start with, first off, is, hey, why does my kid have autism? That's where we're going to start, number one, okay? In my opinion, and again, I've been a biomedical autism doc for 20 years. I've treated primarily, exclusively autism over that time. So I've seen thousands of families and thousands of kids, and trying to put this all together for you guys, whether you're on the beginning of your journey and your child was just diagnosed, or you're a couple years in and trying a few things, or man, you've been dealing with this for a decade or two and you're just wondering what else is out there, okay? So let's start at the beginning, which is, why did my child have autism? So I want you to go back to those first couple years. Again, it's usually between 12 and 18 months, but again, around the first 3 years of life. And was your child kind of developing typically, a few words and some animal sounds and interacting with you and eye contact, and then boom, disappeared and dropped off? Or was your child just kind of slow to develop to begin with? All right. Now, obviously, we don't like to compare our kids, but it's important to compare our kids on their development at different ages. I mean, children and humans develop at pretty much a similar schedule. So it's okay to compare. We're not making judgments. What we're trying to do is help, and we're trying to say, hey, maybe the language should be here now. It's not, and I want to figure that out, okay? And let me take a side comment here. I don't like people that dismiss you. If you go to your doctor or whomever and say, hey, geez, I'm really worried about my kid's language, they're not talking, and they dismiss you with things like, oh, they're a boy, oh, they'll grow out of it, oh, there's a couple languages in the house. That kind of dismissal does not help you, and it does not help your child, okay? It's basically someone who doesn't want to deal with the issue, period. Okay, so I want to call those people out because it's important to help these kids, because we're at 1 in 36. We're at almost 33% of kids based on CDC data, are diagnosed with autism. I believe the numbers are much higher. The more recent studies coming out of California are looking anywhere from 5 to 7%. So we've got to intervene now. All right, back on track. So was your child somebody developing words, eye contact, disappeared, or was it a slow development from the beginning? Okay. For those kids who were a slow developer from the beginning, all right, I believe those kids have genetic abnormalities that's causing medical issues that get diagnosed as autism. So again, genetic mutations, genetic deletions, problems in genetics can cause brain development issues that get diagnosed as autism. Now, here's a few research studies. This one talks about genetic mutations called de novo mutations, which are brand new gene mutations in our kids, and autism families. What it says here is we now estimate that de novo events contribute to 52 to 67% of cases of autism among low-risk families and 30 to 39% of cases of all autism. So what's a low-risk family? A low-risk family is a family where there's no autism in the family history. You're like, geez, I don't have autism, and my uncles don't, my cousin, there's no autism in our family. Why is this here? Okay? So this research study is saying 50 to 70% of kids, those type of kids in those type of families have a genetic cause. Okay? And if you look at all families together, it's 1/3 of the cause approximately. All right? And that's a decent number of kids. What do you do about it? You get tested. You get genetic testing. Again, if you want to get into the details of this, I would go back to one of our first podcasts of January 2024. Listen to genetics. You want to get things like a Fragile X test, a CMA microarray, and a WES whole exome sequence. Get the genetic testing done. Now, you can do that with your doc. You can do that through our website. But get it done so two things. Number one, is this happening because of genetics? And what can you do about it? Now, most people think, and even most doctors think, geez, you can't do anything with genetic issues. They're there and they're not going to go away. Now, it's true. They're there and they're not going to go away, but we can treat them to make life better. All right. So here's a research study, and this is out of Harvard. This study, it talks about the genetic testing in autism. 12% of the kids that they tested had severe genetic problems. There were no significant differences in cognition, motor scores among children versus normal findings versus those with genetic problems. Medical recommendations in response to genetic findings were made for 72% of those with results. So let me just make those hardcore points, okay? If you have a genetic cause of autism, these researchers from Harvard say 70% of them are treatable, okay? Treatable. This is what we do in our office. I've got a telemedicine practice. Parents come in, we do the testing, or I get the testing you've already have. We look for treatments, okay? The other thing that it says, which is another urban myth, that cognition, language, or motor scores are no different in those with genetic causes versus non-genetic causes, okay? A lot of people and even a lot of doctors assume, well, if it's a genetic problem, these are kids who are really severe, but they don't have to be. They can be mild. They can be moderate, okay? I do agree most of the severe kids do have genetic issues, but you never know until you test. So the bottom line is test, test, test. Okay. Now, what about those kids who regress, all right? In my opinion, after working with these kids for 20 years, the regression occurs for one of two reasons. Number one, toxins, and number two, infections of the brain. All right? And treating both of them is going to help dramatically if you have a child who regressed. Now, one of the biggest toxins out there, and I talk about this all the time on the podcast, and I hope you're on board with it, is the toxicity of Tylenol. Okay? Now, the generic name for Tylenol is acetaminophen. The international name for acetaminophen is paracetamol. And I want to explain all that because you may see these different terms in the science. This talks about acetaminophen and risk of autism. This states acetaminophen exposure measured in doses before age 2 was found to be associated with autism among male children. Acetaminophen was estimated to be about 40% of the risk of autism among male children in the U.S. This says Tylenol, acetaminophen, causes 40% of the cases of autism. Okay? That sure is a lot. Jump on that with genetics at 30 to 40%. Now we've got 70 to 80% of cases of autism. What about the rest? Let's talk about infections, okay? Oh, where did I put infections? Infections is farther down, but I'll get there. Okay. So I got some research studies on infections. They're in another part of this podcast. Okay. So now what do we do about it? First off, whether your child has a toxicity cause, whether they have an infection cause, whether they have a genetic cause, those are going to affect two things. They're going to affect brain chemistry and they're going to affect mitochondria. So let's talk about brain chemistry first. There are chemicals in the brain that control development. They control language. They control sensory. They control motor, okay? So they're going to affect all of our development. Things like serotonin and dopamine and GABA and adrenaline and glutamate, okay? Making sure those are balanced is going to give you fast improvement in your kids. Not all the improvement. There's a lot of things to do, but it's the fastest thing, which is why I always make sure it's the first thing I do with my patients, all right? One of the best ways, and there's multiple ways, but one of the best ways to improve brain chemistry in your kids is to use the vitamin folinic acid. Now, folinic acid is a metabolite of folate, folic acid. It's a precursor to methylfolate. Folinic acid, and I'm sure you've heard about this because it's a lot of science behind it. Folinic acid improves verbal communication in children with autism, okay? Improvements in verbal communication was significantly greater in participants receiving folinic acid compared with those receiving placebo. So this was a double-blind placebo-controlled trial. They gave some of the kids folinic acid, they gave some of the kids placebo, and the kids who got folinic acid improved their language, period. Multiple studies like this, all right? So we have a form of folinic acid. You can get folinic acid over the counter, but what we've done is we've combined folinic acid with cofactors that increase its absorbability into the brain. Okay, so super folinic acid, a great place to start if you haven't used it. And again, this is different than other folinic acids on the market. It's different than leucovorin because of the cofactors. Now, we also have folinic acid in our Power and Focus supplement. This is our #1 bestseller. If you're new to Spectrum Awakening and you're like, hey, where do I start? Start with this, okay? The second place to start is the Skowron solution. The Skowron solution is a 4-part supplement protocol that I developed to balance brain chemistry. And it's better than the Power and Focus because it affects more brain chemicals and it's adaptable. Okay, some kids need more sedation and relaxation. Some kids need more stimulants. So you can adjust those and works what you best for your kids. In fact, I was just talking to a new patient in England yesterday, and I said, "Hey, do you use any?" They're like, "Oh boy, we've done really well over the past couple months. Our kids improved. We took some vitamins." I'm like, "Oh, that's great. What did you take?" And they pulled up the Skowron solution. They're like, "This is great. This is great. This is great." I'm like, "That's awesome. Now let's go to that next level." Okay, so what is that next level? Again, as I mentioned, excuse me, I've got the start of a cold, so I'm glad I'm going to be able to get this podcast out. We've got a break next week. I'll be on spring break, school break with my daughter. So this is the perfect time for me to give this podcast before the cold kicks in. So the genetics, the viruses, the toxins affect brain chemistry and affect mitochondria, okay? So you can test your mitochondria. What are mitochondria? Mitochondria are the parts of every cell that create energy. You remember from high school science, mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. What does that mean? It means they produce energy. You can test mitochondrial function with a urine test called the OAT, Organic Acid Test. That's a test that looks for mitochondria. Here's an example of one organic acid test. You can see it as different markers called mitochondrial markers. This is a way, if you're interested, to say, hey, does my kid have mitochondrial issues? Well, let's take a look, okay? Now, let's get into the research. This research study is the critical role of dysfunctional mitochondria in autism. Mitochondria not only provide neurons with energy in the form of ATP to sustain neuron growth, but they also regulate reactive oxygen species clearance. That's oxidation, so they help remove oxidants. Due to their high energy demand, neurons or brain cells are particularly prone to mitochondrial dysfunction. Dysfunctional mitochondria have been closely associated with the onset of autism. Got it, okay? A lot of our kids with autism have mitochondrial dysfunction, problems producing energy, okay? And what do? There are different supplements that improve mitochondrial function. One of the most important ones, and there are multiple, one of the most important ones is carnitine, okay? Carnitine is one of the most important vitamin supplements to help with mitochondrial dysfunction. Here's a research study. The role of L-carnitine in autism. L-carnitine plays an important role in the functioning of the central nervous system and especially in the mitochondrial metabolism of fatty acids. Now, let me just stop there. Most of our body runs on sugar, okay? You can convert protein and fat into sugar, and that's what the body runs on. The brain can run on sugar, but it runs better on fat, okay? So fat metabolism is going to fuel the brain and make it work better. This is where carnitine is extremely important, okay? Altered carnitine metabolism, abnormal fatty acid metabolism in patients with autism has been documented. L-carnitine participates in the long-chain oxidation of fatty acids in the brain, stimulates acetylcholine synthesis, and prevents neuron damage and stimulates neurotransmission. Supplementation of L-carnitine may be beneficial to alleviate behavioral and cognitive symptoms in autism. So let me just throw one other thing in here. Stimulates acetylcholine synthesis. Acetylcholine is one of the most calming, relaxing chemicals in the nervous system. So carnitine is going to produce fuel for the brain. It's going to help with your mitochondria. It's going to help calm you down. It's going to prevent neuron brain damage, and it's going to stimulate neurotransmission. Okay? So it's important that we give mitochondrial support, such as carnitine. Okay? Now, last year I developed a mitochondrial formula. There's a lot of great mitochondrial formulas out on the market. A lot of them have B vitamins, and those B vitamins can be overstimulating to kids. You know, if you're B vitamin sensitive, those combos with the B vitamins are going to set you off. So what I wanted to do was create a mitochondrial formula without the stimulating B vitamins, okay? So we have MitoMax. And MitoMax has a multitude, I know you're not going to be able to read it, but a multitude of ingredients, and it's the only mitochondrial supplement on the market that contains ATP. ATP is the molecular form of energy that the mitochondria produces. So the mitochondria takes carnitine and CoQ10 and creatine and alpha-ketoglutarate and NADH and vitamin B2, and they take it all and create ATP. So we put all that together in one, okay, without those overstimulating B vitamins. That's MitoMax. Now, mitochondrial formulas are expensive. And just because of the cost of the ingredients in it, doesn't matter what mitochondrial supplement you get. If it's high quality, it's going to have a high price tag. So what Spectrum Awakening has done for World Autism Week is they've dropped the price of MitoMax by $20. Okay, normally it's $80. It's been dropped to $60, and of course we got the 25% coupon. So now's the time if you want to stock up on MitoMax or try MitoMax. This is the week to do it. Okay. Now, brain, what's next? Okay. When mitochondria aren't functioning and the brain doesn't have energy to develop, you get developmental delays. Another part of the body that requires a lot of energy is the immune system, especially the immune system of the gut. Children with autism are extremely predisposed to having gut infections, especially yeast infections, fungal infections, parasite infections, things like candida and mold, bacteria, parasites, viruses. I've seen it all in our kids, okay? Those infections are going to cause pain, and they're going to cause a lot of behavior problems in our kids. So if you've got behavior problems with your kids, if they laugh for no reason, if they're hyperactive, if they're angry, if they're hurting you, you've got to think about gut infections. What do you do if you think your kid has a gut infection? Well, you can do a stool test, okay? Now, typical regular stool tests from regular labs aren't that good. There are companies that make really good advanced stool tests. You can get those on our website. You can get those from your doctor if your doctor uses those. And here's an example of one. You're going to see infections like Bacillus and Proteus and Candida and other forms of yeast. You're going to see parasites. You're going to see C. diff and H. pylori. You're going to see those on these advanced stool tests that you probably wouldn't see on regular typical stool tests from typical labs, okay? So you got to get rid of those infections, okay? And I know many of you have probably spent months, if not years, trying to get rid of those. Now, there's 3 things you need to do if you've got a gut infection, okay? First off, these infections are alive, and these infections protect themselves. They produce this defensive wall, okay? Like a castle has a moat. These infections produce this protective wall called a biofilm. It's a layer of slime that hides them from the host's immune system. You've got to break down that biofilm, okay? There's specific enzymes that will do that. So we have an enzyme called yeast mold biofilm that's going to degrade that. Next, you got to kill the bug once it's exposed. Okay. Now, there's a lot of great natural things. I'm a huge fan of grapefruit seed extract, and I'm a huger fan of colloidal silver. Now, here's our colloidal silver here, colloidal silver bullet. Let me say something about colloidal silver. You've got to be careful about quality. Okay. There are some poor qualities of colloidal silver. You hear these stories about people turning blue. Yeah, that's cheap, poor quality colloidal silver. The potential effect for these is so good. You got to get a high quality product. Like I even know on Taka's website, they, provide warnings about colloidal silver. And I agree that you should avoid low quality, but I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are high quality colloidal silver supplements out there, including ours, that are going to kill these infections in your gut. Okay. Let me show you this research study I just found, which I love. Now, colloidal silver in the scientific research are called silver nanoparticles, okay? Silver nanoparticles against human pathogens. These nanoparticles significantly subdued the growth of C. diff, Proteus, Bacillus, Aspergillus, that's a mold, Candida, and another form of Aspergillus mold. These silver nanoparticles can be used in the future to treat various bacterial and fungal infections. High quality colloidal silver is so effective. And the other reason I love it is it's practically tasteless. Okay. It kind of tastes like a mildly metallic water. In fact, like I mentioned, I'm catching a cold and my wife and my daughter are sick. And so we gargle colloidal silver a few times a day. Okay. It's in our throat. Boom. We gargle it. We get that contact. We flush it out. It's great stuff. You can use other herbs out there as well. I like grapefruit seed extract a lot. There's a lot of other herbs we have, like our biocillin product and our Paraslayer product. Great stuff out there. The third thing you need to do with these gut infections is add a binder, okay? A binder is a substance that's going to grab these dying organisms and get them out of the body, okay? If you've ever used substances like this, if you've ever used probiotics, if you've ever used inulin and your child got worse, this is a sign that there are infections, they're being killed, but they're causing problems and they're not leaving the body fast enough. This is why you've got to use binders. The more binders, the better. We got a brand new one. Thanks, Lena. Lena said get better. I'm taking all my stuff. Trust me, Lena. The more your child has behavioral issues with gut treatments, the more binders you have to use. I cannot hammer that home enough. Okay? In fact, if your kid is really sensitive to gut treatments, just start with binders. And then start with a biofilm enzyme. And then start with the colloidal silver, okay? Get rid of stuff, break down the walls, kill the bugs. All right, what's next? Next is autoimmunity. Autoimmunity is next. With the immune system changes that occur in autism, autoimmunity is common. What is autoimmunity? Autoimmunity is our own body attacking itself, all right? One of the bigger issues of autoimmunity, and there can be many, one of the bigger issues of autoimmunity in our kids is something called PANDAS or PANS. Now, PANDAS and PANS is an autoimmune attack on the brain, okay? And it occurs because the immune system gets confused between an infection and the brain. So the brain and an infection, the brain and an infection can look the same to the immune system. So the immune system might be attacking this infection, but then it attacks the brain because it looks the same. And then our children get these myriad of emotional issues and motor tics, and the severe kids get seizures when they have PANDAS or PANS. It's always worse after a cold. It's always worse after a flu. And a lot of times, these bugs are still in our system. They live in our tonsils. They live in our adenoids. They live in other lymph tissue in the body. And the immune system is constantly trying to get rid of them and then constantly attacking the brain. So it's a real struggle to deal with PANDAS and PANS. I recommend a combination of anti-inflammatories and antivirals. It's usually a virus. So PANS is an autoimmune attack on the brain caused by a virus. PANDAS is an autoimmune attack on the brain caused by strep. All right? Practically the same thing. It's just a different bug that causes the problem. All right? So going with antivirals, going with antibacterials, going with anti-inflammatories is a great thing to do for PANDAS and PANS. One of my favorite, and there's two favorite anti-inflammatories that I use. One is PEA, palmitoyl ethanolamide, and the other is curcumin. So Palmitoyl as an adjunctive therapy for autism, inflammation, as well as glutamate tough to say things with a cold, guys. Inflammation, as well as glutamate excitotoxicity, have been proposed to participate in the propagation of autism. Palmitoyl, which is PEA, is an endocannabinoid proven to prevent glutamatergic toxicity and inhibit inflammatory responses simultaneously. Okay? Superior efficacy, ameliorating irritability, and superior effect of inappropriate speech was found in kids who took PEA. Okay? This research study actually gave risperidone, but I don't like risperidone at all. It just turns your kids into zombies. I mean, unless your kid is really hurting themselves or somebody else, I don't like risperidone. Just zombies your kids out and packs on the weight. So this study took risperidone and PEA and combined it to just risperidone. And the risperidone PEA kids did way better in the irritability and the inappropriate speech. All right, obviously the effect of the PEA. So we have taken PEA and turned it into a tasteless powder. So that is our Panda Bear supplement. So Panda Bear is a tasteless PEA powder. It's an amazing anti-inflammatory. All right, next, the other one is curcumin. Okay, we've got a product, Curcume Ease, which is a combination of curcumin and another great cofactor called serratiopeptidase. Now, this couple research studies on curcumin. Curcumin treatment restores hippocampal neurogenesis. That's part of the brain. So curcumin restores brain and improves autism-related behaviors. Curcumin treatment improved autism symptoms of sociability, reducing repetitive behaviors and ameliorating cognitive impairments. It is a promising novel strategy for autism treatment. Great stuff, everybody. Next, here is the efficacy of curcumin in experimental paradigm of autism. Regular treatment with curcumin for 4 weeks significantly and dose-dependently, that means more is better. The more you use and the longer you use it, restored neurological, behavioral, biochemical, and molecular changes associated with autism in this animal study. It's great stuff, guys, honestly. So, and again, we got to decrease the inflammation because there's inflammation attacking the brain, and then we've got to get rid of these infections. Now, here's where I have those viral research studies, because again, not only viruses going to contribute to PANS, but in my opinion, they are a cause of autism in regressive cases. So antiviral treatments and antimicrobial treatments can help almost every kid on the spectrum. I'm glad you guys are holding tight. We're going over a lot today. So this is a study, viruses and autism, okay? Infection is a significant trigger of autism, especially during the critical development period. Viral infection directly infects the brain. What? Viral infections directly infect the brain, trigger immune activation, induce epigenetic changes, and raise the risk of having a child with autism. Viral infections get in the brain, okay? How do they get in the brain? There's a barrier between the brain and the bloodstream called the blood-brain barrier. It's really tight. It prevents bad things like viruses getting in. Guess what opens up that blood-brain barrier and allows viruses to get in? Tylenol, okay? I've got all these research studies in my beginner's course on our website. If you want to read the actual research, it's all there on our course. You can download it, read the studies, show them to your docs and say, hey, we got to change things for the sake of our kids, all right? Here's another research study, which I talk about often, but I've only showed once, and I wanted to show it again. This is a study on autopsies. So they took people who died, some with autism and some without autism, and tested their brains for viruses. Guess what? Autism of brains and viral infections in postmortem brains. These 3 viruses here, okay, this is called a BK virus, a JC virus, and a Similan virus 40, are significantly more frequent among autism patients compared to controls. That's 67% versus 23%. So they took the autopsies, 2/3 of the brains with autism had these viruses, and only 1 out of 5, 20% of non-autism brains have these viruses. That's triple, okay? Polyviral infections tend to occur more frequently in the brains of autistic patients compared to controls. That's 40% versus 7.7%, okay? And again, we're looking at let me do the math here because my brain's having thinking problems. That's 5 times the amount. 5 times the amount, or the number of those with autism have viral infections in the brain of polyviral infections, not polio, polyviral infections versus neurotypical controls. Why is the virus there? It's causing problems. It's causing delays, all right? Jennifer just said SV40 is in vax lines. Jennifer, that is a very intriguing. I need to do some research on that. All right. 2 more things. We'll wrap up and get some questions. There's a lot in this video. So we talked about the genetics, the brain chemistry, the mitochondria, all the immune systems. Let's tack on a few side things. Number 1, hormones, okay? We all think about hormones in puberty. And yeah, hormones cause a lot of behavioral changes during puberty. And if you've got a kid pre-puberty or puberty with behavioral changes, there's so much we can do to help your kids, period, okay? But we have hormones since day 1 of life. Everybody has estrogen, including boys. Everybody has testosterone, including girls, okay? So what we used to believe is, hey, more testosterone because more boys have autism must be the problem. We've figured out that's wrong. Now, excess testosterone can cause behavior problems and aggression, but it's not the cause of autism. It's actually a deficiency in estrogen that is a contributor to autism. And the newer science is trying to figure out how we can give estrogen therapy to young kids to help with the developmental delays, all right? Now, you can test your hormones 2 ways. You can get a blood draw, okay, which for some kids just isn't doable, or you can do a saliva test. Now, we have the saliva test on our website, and you're going to measure levels of estrogen, levels of progesterone, levels of testosterone, all with a saliva test. You got to spit in a tube, okay? And let me tell you this. Over 90% of the kids that I've tested for hormones have had low estrogen. Period. Okay? This is new science. This might be the key to it. Getting estrogen therapy for these kids. Now, I don't want these kids to go through puberty when they're 3. I don't want them growing breasts when they're 3. But how can we activate the estrogen receptors in the brain to promote development? Okay? And guess what? Estrogen receptors are involved with speech development and sensory balancing. Here's another one. Estrogens, and I haven't even showed the research. Estrogens and autism. This is a study from the United Kingdom. Britain spells estrogen with an O in the beginning. So estrogens, estrone, and progesterone have the largest effects on autism likelihood. Very simple sentence, but flat out right there, it's not the testosterone, it's the estrogens, okay? Now, testosterone still can be a problem because testosterone can cause explosive aggression in autism. Testosterone can play a role in the complex etiology of aggressive behavior, which children will be the most responsive to. Potential anti-androgen therapy needs to be considered. Now, I'll tell you, we've got the greatest supplement to normalize high testosterone levels. This is what I would give to my PCOS patients, okay? In fact, I just saw something on social media. There's no FDA-approved medication for PCOS. Well, guess what? We've dropped these girls' testosterone levels in half within weeks with our Common Cool supplement. Why? Because this is going to help normalize testosterone levels. So Common Cool, it's our second best-selling supplement, and for a good reason. It works for this aggressive behavior, okay? It's not going to work for all behaviors because a lot of behaviors are from intestinal infections, so you've got to look at that. But it's great. It's a great thing to try. Okay, last but not least is toxins. We started this conversation way back. Hey, my kid had a regression. Well, it's either infections or it's toxins. And we talked about the toxicity of Tylenol, acetaminophen, and paracetamol. But we're going to talk about the toxicity of heavy metals. Heavy metals are definitely an issue. You can get heavy metal tests with your doctor. You can do them through the urine. You can do them through the blood. You can do them from the hair. So we've got a hair analysis here. And hair isn't the most accurate. A challenged urine heavy metal test is the most accurate. But hair is the easiest. So we have the hair test on our website. If you want it, it's going to check for heavy metals, okay? Now, if you got heavy metals, as most people do, you want to get rid of them because these heavy metals are going to cause damage to the brain. Now, the first thing I like to do is use glutathione. Glutathione tastes nasty. It's a sulfur molecule. So we use a cream, glutathione cream. Glutathione imbalances in autism. Glutathione regulates glutamate receptors, may be involved in the regulation of glutamate excitotoxicity. I got that word right this time. It modulates glutathione. It's associated with providing a significant impact on neuroinflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, as well as and may also provide a significant link between glutathione metabolism and autism. Furthermore, it has been recently highlighted that glutathione can affect and modulate DNA methylation and epigenetics. Talk about the buzzwords of the day. Glutathione's great, just tastes nasty. That's why I like it in a cream. All right, another one of my favorite detox supplements. Where did I put it? Behind my tea. Alpha-lipoic acid. Okay, alpha-lipoic acid is almost a necessity for our kids. Let me tell you why. The protective role of alpha-lipoic acid in impairments of social and stereotype behaviors induced by postnatal administration of thimerosal. That sure is a mouthful, but guess what this means? What this says is if you inject mercury, remember mercury in those thermometers that my parents used to stick up my woohoo? Okay, that stuff is toxic. That's why I don't have it anymore, except in flu shots, all right? So if you're injecting mercury into your child, you're going to have neurological problems, okay? Alpha-lipoic acid reverses that. Here it is. Thimerosal, they gave this to animals. Thimerosal significantly impacted locomotor activity and impaired social and stereotyped behaviors. Alpha-lipoic acid at all doses prevented the adverse effect of thimerosal on stereotyped behaviors. Alpha-lipoic acid may protect against mercurial-induced abnormal behaviors. Now, thimerosal is just the term for mercury in vaccines. Okay, that's just the brand name. And if you ever remember Alice in Wonderland, you remember the Mad Hatter. Okay, the Mad Hatter was cuckoo crazy because he used mercury in the glue for the hats, and that's why he went crazy. Was mercury damage? Okay. Rodney says thank you. You're welcome, Rodney. You're always on, man. Rodney's always on every week, doing the best to help his kids. So thank you guys for that. Anyway, the other Jeannie, glad I made you laugh. The other detox supplement, brand new for us, which is great. I don't have research on it today, but I did 2 weeks ago. You can go back, is fulvic acid. And this is a very high potency fulvic acid, our fulvic detox supplement. It's a liquid, tastes really salty, but man, it'll do really well to detox those heavy metals. So well, that's it, guys. That's biomedical everything for our kids. And again, just to run down everything, why do our kids have autism? They're either born with genetic mutations that cause brain issues and or mitochondrial issues. These are the kids that normally just have a slow progression from birth, normally. Research says upwards of 2/3 of kids could have genetic causes for autism. And studies from Harvard say 70% of those genetic causes are treatable, okay? So, but you've got to go to a doc that knows how to treat them. A typical genetic doctor isn't. Now you have these regressive kids, which in my opinion is either toxic, the toxicity of autism, or having autism, the toxicity of Tylenol, acetaminophen, paracetamol, or viruses that get in the brain and cause this damage, and other toxins such as heavy metals, right? The genetic and the toxins cause imbalances in brain chemistry. So supporting brain chemistry should be one of the first things that you do. Try the Skowron solution, Power and Focus. It's great for so many kids. It also affects mitochondria, so you've got to give mitochondrial support. Again, our formula, nothing like it on the market. There's a lot of good mitochondrial formulas on the market. Most of them have B vitamins that can make some kids hyper. Ours do not have the hyperactive B vitamins, and it's the only product on the market that has ATP. ATP is the molecular form of energy, okay? That's what mitochondria produces. Mitochondrial dysfunction is going to affect the immune system. Our kids get these gut infections. You got to treat those. This order: binder, biofilm, kill the bug. Got it? If your kid gets STIMI and behavioral on any kind of gut treatment, even probiotics or inulin, binders, 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 binders. I can't push that enough. All right. Next, your child may get immune dysregularity and have autoimmune issues like pandas or PANS. That's an autoimmune attack on the brain. You've got to go anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial. All right. Then some other side issues, the estrogen deficiency in our kids. I think that might be a huge intervention in the future for them. And of course, detox is really important, but you can't start detox until after you've cleaned out the gut, because that's where the toxins go. Okay. We either pee them out or poop them out. So if you're not pooping and you've got infections in there, starting detox first is going to just mess up the whole thing. All right. You got it, guys. From my mouth to your ears. Let's get to some of the live questions. And number one, thank you for doing everything you can for your child. I love that you're here. I love that you want to help. I hate to see when parents give up. I know how frustrating it can be. I see it on the faces on my families every week. And it's disheartening. It's disheartening because we all want our kids better. And we talk to most of our doctors, and our doctors think, yeah, just go to therapy. That's all you can do. I've even heard doctors say, yeah, just put your kid in a home. There's nothing you can do. And just how callous and disheartening has our world become. Anyway, I'm not going to tangent on that. But what I am going to tangent on is thanking you for doing everything you can for your kids. Of course, this is World Autism Awareness Week, the first week of April. Spectrum Awakening does its biggest sale of the year, 25%. So if you want to stock up on stuff, if you want a lab test, if you want to try something, now's the time to do it. Spectrum Awakening, all the products are gluten-free, dairy-free. They all have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you try them and your kid doesn't like them, you send it back, period. Okay? And this week, not only do we have 25% off, which won't happen again until November, Black Friday, but our Mitomax supplement, our mitochondrial supplement, normally $80, is $60 until the end of the weekend, and you can use the 25% off coupon. So I really want to encourage everybody to try as much as you can. Coupon, Autism25, that's 25% off any of our supplements, any of our lab tests, even our bundles that expires April 7th, this Sunday. Hey, if you want one-on-one help, I do telemedicine appointments. Go to our website, click the tab that says appointments. You can book it there. You can call our office. You can email our office. We're here to help you guys in any way. All right, let's get to some of the live questions. I know we only have 15 minutes because I talked a lot. As I do, I am skilled in the embarrassment of my 11-year-old. All right, Brannigan. Hey, Doc, I've always linked Levi's autism to PANS because he regressed almost overnight after having COVID because behavior after colds was terrible for months. And trust me, I've seen a lot of COVID-induced PANS, okay? More recently, though, he seems to be better while fighting a cold. Like more sounds, more awareness. What does that mean? It means kill the infection, Go for antivirals. I didn't even show this one. I forgot to. I had it ready. Viragon. Love this stuff. Tastes pretty gross, but Viragon is a great natural antiviral. Okay. Gotta. Hey, Doc, what about proteome genetic therapy injections? I've never had a patient use them, so I can't say. Yay, tea. Got it. My child has autism and PANS. Shaking his head and bite his hands is a bad sign. Yeah. What do we do? I want you to put him on our yeast mold bundle. That's going to work on infections, and then get him on Panda Bear and curcumin. Diane says hello. Diane's so nice. Says hi to everybody. Diane, my child stopped talking at 3 years old, but the behavior wasn't that good when I look back. He was very scared of other kids, but he met all his milestones and loved numbers, wanted to read all the time. And you know what? Our kids can have behaviors without autism. You can have anxiety. You can have depression. That could just be your genetic makeup. But if he had met his milestones and he was talking, then I wouldn't associate that behavior with autism. I'd just look at that regression when he stopped talking at 3. Donna, my son was 18 months when I completely lost him. That's the story, Donna. Guess what? I bet there was a lot of Tylenol involved at that time. I bet there were a lot of viruses in that time, whether you breathed them in or they were injected into your body. I bet they were there. Molly, my son had HIE at birth, causing into autism. And you know what? There are a lot of causes of autism. There's not just one. And I hear it all the time. Hey, this did it, this did it, this did it. There's many, many, many causes, okay? But they're all valid. They're all valid. Jasmine, good morning. Thanks for the sale. Just stocked up. Anytime, Jasmine. That's when Spectrum Awakening does it twice a year, every year. Sherry, we expect to get the results of our Super Oat test. We sent it off about 6 weeks ago. Sherry, I'll talk to my team. I know I've got about 5 test results I need to interpret, so I'll take a look. Brianna, have you seen much success with the Ion Cleanse? Okay, so this is off topic. Ion Cleanse is an ionic detox foot bath. These foot baths do work to remove toxins from the body. I used to believe it was all, BS, and mostly because of the marketing. The marketing's like, look at the brown water, if the toxin's coming out. I'm like, no, that just beep, beep. All my BS radars are flying off the handle. And trust me, I have an Ion Cleanse machine, okay, at home, at my office. And put that Ion Cleanse machine in water without any feed, it's going to turn brown, okay, because it rusts the water. That's what you're seeing. You put that machine in distilled water, it doesn't turn any colors, okay? It's the minerals of the water turn brown. But, okay, there are multiple research studies, and I've done my research on this. You're going to pull toxins out with ionic foot baths, okay? There are many brands. The Ion Cleanse is the best brand, and it's the most expensive brand, but you get what you pay for. The differences in symptoms depends on the child, okay? Because again, detoxification is one part of this puzzle. It's not the whole thing, okay? You've got to work on the neurochemistry and the infections, and the mitochondria, and the autoimmunity, and the detox. Michelle, my son has a bunch of MAOA and MAOB genes. Are these common in autism? Yes, and in fact, I created a supplement. Do I have it with me? Yeah, hold on. I created a supplement for those with MAOA polymorphisms called anger management, okay? MAOA is gonna, if you have MAO polymorphisms, you're gonna have high levels of adrenaline, high levels of anger, and hyperactivity. So I developed anger management to calm those down. The MAOB genes are more associated with schizophrenia risk and autism risk, but I'm not aware of any interventions for it, unfortunately. But it definitely can cause behavioral issues in our kids. Brianna, I've recently seen plasminogens mentioned. Can you explain those? Nope. I am not educated on those. Melanie, we've noticed a difference with the Skowron solution. Yay! Attention span is better and getting more work done in school. What can we do about pica or pica or pickled peppers? Mostly eating paper this week. You got to give them minerals, okay? Pica is just desire to eat things because you don't have enough minerals. So we've got, I don't know where I put it. We have something called detox mineral replacement. You can try that. You may also want to make sure he has enough iron or she has enough iron. If you're not eating beef, hamburgers, and meatballs and steak, you don't have enough iron, okay? So eat some beef, get some other minerals, and see if that works. I used to have a kid, my office used to be, way back in the day, used to be a brick building. And, you know, there was like a ramp, a handicap ramp, and the kids would walk up the ramp and like lick, they licked the bricks on the way up. I hope that doesn't make it onto Instagram. But yeah, it's going to happen. They just need minerals. That's all. Brianna, what can us parents do to naturally help our anxiety? Ha ha ha! Temper tamer, okay? Life is hard. Life is hard regardless, guys. Never mind having a kid with autism. I was on Facebook the other day and somebody posted something on Facebook that basically said, you know, in 5 words, how has your life changed because of autism? You know, and they were all sad words. You know, it's hard. Life is hard. Parenthood is hard. Autism is harder. So that's a lot of stress. Okay. You've got to support yourself so you can help your child. Okay. You're stressed. You're burnt out. Adrenal herbs like our temper tamer supplements are amazing at helping you get that strength back. Okay. We also have one called Sanity Saver. Now, Sanity Saver is a similar supplement, but it's a glandular instead of an herbal. So temper tamer or Sanity Saver. Maybe it was Sanity Saver. Diane, is it like someone went into my son's head and deleted everything he had? My son had C. diff and lead, aluminum, thallium, tin, antimony, and mercury. They've reduced, but he still has them. Yeah, it's a long journey, Diane, but we can get there. Molly, what about autism caused by traumatic birth and brain injury? Yeah, that can be another cause, sure. You know, and very similar to cerebral palsy. Donna, my child is autistic. He presses with his finger on the lateral side of his eyes. Your advice, he has sinus congestion, okay? I'd like you to try our Allergon and our histamine C supplements. But pushing on your eyes is normally sinus congestion behind the eyes. It can also be a sign of parasites. So get the stool test, check for parasites, and go down that road. Right, Haheo's on a lot. We started on the Skowron solution this week. Our son's even more hyper on anger management. Okay, so stop. Okay, and this is why the Skowron solution is adaptable. If you try something and it makes your child worse, stop that one and move on to the next one. Okay, I'm happy he's not angry on this new supplement. That's good, but I don't want him more hyper. So stop that one, move on to the next one, which is the serotonin. And maybe after you introduce them all, you can reintroduce the anger management and see what happens. But with the Skowron solution, these are going to work or not work. So if it's having a side effect, stop it. If it's having benefits and side effects, just drop the dose in half. And obviously, if it's good, keep using it. Nothing works for everybody, guys. What about folate? Is it better than folinic acid? Nope. Folinic acid is the best. Methylfolate is also very, 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 very good, but can cause hyperactivity in some kids. So folinic acid is the way to go. Oh, speaking of that, I get so excited. I'm going to crash after this, guys. Our Power and Focus supplement has folinic acid, and it's got 80% folinic acid and 20% methylfolate. So it's got a combo very heavy on the folinic. It also has B12, 80% hydroxy, and 20% methylcobalamin. Again, the methylcobalamin can be more stimulating. That's why we just give a small amount. We've just changed the formula. So now it's 80% adenosylcobalamin and 20% methylcobalamin. Adenosylcobalamin is the best form of B12 out there. It's expensive, and it's rarely found in vitamin supplements, but we're always trying to make this the best. So we now have adenosyl B12 in this. We didn't change the price. We just get it in such large quantities. It works out. But our Power and Focus new formula, this must be like the 8th or 10th time I've changed this formula. Adenosylcobalamin is 80%, methylcobalamin is 20%, folinic 80%, methylfolate 20%. Man, if you're new to Spectrum Awakening, you haven't tried this, please, please, please try it. All right, Janelle, our daughter has autism. We took her to a naturopath. He gave her a bunch of supplements, including RNA, and she used to hide under tables to the thought of going out. She's almost an adult, looking to be a lifeguard. She's attending college classes. That's awesome, Janelle. I'm so glad that helped. Any kid that gets better, that's what we want. All right, Diane, Power and Focus made my son produce sounds. Yes, and he uses one word at once, but because he still has toxins, I didn't get further. I'll give him more this year. Sounds good, Diane. And again, there's a lot of parts of that flower. We got to keep pushing. Brianna, in your medical opinion, what's the cause of apraxia? It is a lot of anxiety. I would really try our super serotonin product. That's helped a lot of our kids with apraxia. Dyspraxia, I find, is more mitochondrial issues. So go with there. Kadi, how to help with self-behavior like injury, anxiety, and screaming. If your child is hurting themselves or others, and they're screaming, they're in pain. If your child is hurting themselves or others, if they're hurting you, if they're screaming, they're in pain. Look for a gut infection, get a stool test, use our yeast mold bundle, and check for teething. Shamiso, can leucovorin make skin darker? I've never heard that. I don't know. I would look at hormones. I would check your cortisol levels with your doc, but I've never heard that with folinic. Tochi, what causes dark circles under the eyes? In gut inflammation. Gut inflammation and a low gut immune system causes dark circles under the eyes. So odds are you're eating food that worsens your gut or you've got a gut infection, period. And that's in the conventional medical literature, but the conventional docs don't know it. Brianna, is the mycotoxin test accurate? Yes, I believe it's accurate to see if your child has mold. The question is, do we all have mold? Geez, anytime I buy some berries, like in 2 minutes, there's mold growing on them, especially if you get organic. So I think we all have a little bit of mold. The question is how much. Diane, hey doc, my son's O test came back clean after giving an ATP supplement. Yes, I'm wondering if we should keep giving it to him. I would. Or do this, Diane. Stop it for a week and see what happens. If he's good, maybe we don't need it anymore. But if he kind of regresses, we'll give it back to him and see what happens. Jeannie, didn't get to my question last week. Are binders to remove gut toxins necessary if my child has regular poops? Yes, okay? Just because your child may poop on a regular basis doesn't mean that he's grabbing all of the bad stuff and getting it out, okay? So binders don't make you move your poop. They grab the bad stuff and they bring it out. Good question. Got it. My child, when he takes any supplement, stimulate acetylcholine, vocal stimming increases. What can I do? All right, this is a great question. If I push left and things get worse, I'm going to push right, okay? If I push up and things are worse, I'm going to push down. So acetylcholine is a relaxant. So if I give something that relaxes the body and it makes somebody worse, you're going to want to stimulate the body. With what? I would try our Attention on the Double product and our Temper Tamer supplement, okay? These are 2 stimulating supplements that can help a lot of kids. All right. People sharing. Thank you, guys. Love when you share. Tochi, I've been trying to treat candida in my son, but he gets really angry and aggressive. Binders, binders, binders. And he cries a lot when I use grapefruit seed extract or biocidin or digestive enzymes or biofilm. Binders, 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 binders. Tochi, this is a great question. This is exactly what I'm describing. He screams like they hurt his stomach so bad, but the pain makes him so aggressive. But he tolerates the gut binder so well without issues. After a few weeks, I had to stop the GSC and the biofilm, but I still gave him the gut binder. I also gave him coconut oil and some oregano, and the behavior is drastically reduced and the crying is reduced and he's sleeping better. This is the poster child of what I'm talking about. Is it okay to keep giving him the sweet gut binder? Heck yeah. And the coconut oil and the oregano. Yes, you have found a great combination that works for your child. Keep doing it. You figured out what I've been trying to preach today. Lena said get better. Thank you, I will. Kim, do you take binders at the same time as enzymes and grapefruit seed extract? I do. Bella from Carlsbad, she's always on. I wanted to ask you what I can do to help increase my daughter engaging at school. We're seeing more crying and jumping as well as laughing for no reason. All right, we're seeing more crying, more jumping, more laughing for no reason. Gut infections. We have the yeast mold bundle and the Skowron solution. Can we use them together? Yes. Also, we have the supplement for puberty. Anything else? No, I want you to work on the gut, work on this gut infection and go there. See you in October at Taka. Dominique, my son Owen, we're going to have like some Saturday party at Taka. Like, I don't know, but Spectrum Awakening is hosting some Saturday party. I'm very excited. Dominique, my son had strep a month ago. Does that make him prone for pandas? No. Yes, but no. I mean, people get strep, but that doesn't mean you're going to get pandas. So let me just say this. If his or her behavior, if your son's behavior got really worse after the strep, then you might have pandas. But if he's kind of baseline where he was, no, he's fine. Elise, have you seen cases that kids have mold illness that mimics PANS? Yep. When leaving the mold, does the PANS get better? Yep. But you should kill it too. Hey, colloidal silver does that. I saw science today. Jeannie, question 1. Are binders to remove gut toxins necessary if my boy has regular poops? Yep. Question 2, we use colloidal silver even though it's said to cause a blue skin tint. Again, I talked about this, but I want to highlight it again. Some supplements on the market, it really doesn't matter what you get. The quality is going to be pretty the same. Okay, if you get the good quality, or if you get the expensive stuff or the cheap stuff, some things will be the same. Okay, vitamin D will probably be the same no matter what brand you use. Okay. But other things, you got to get the high quality stuff, okay? And colloidal silver is one of them. Will poor, cheap colloidal silver turn you blue? Yeah, and that's bad. You need the good quality stuff, okay? And I understand why organizations may want to be CYA and say don't use it, there are risks, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This stuff is great. I'm using it literally now. Nitsa is sharing. Thanks, Nitsa. Jeannie, take the course, folks. Oh, Jeannie, thank you for the promo. Jeannie is saying take our beginner's educational course. I am developing an advanced one. If you get the beginner's course, you're also going to be automatically enrolled into the advanced course once it's out. Okay? Take the course. It's so full of great info. It gives us direction, even a little hope. Thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate that. Again, you can go on our website, click education. It'll go to our course website, and you can watch the course through there. Kofo, is it safe to be on the Skowron solution and guanfacine? Yeah, that's fine. Just not SSRIs like Prozac or Lexapro. Lynn, how do I get a hold of you? Go to our website and click appointments. Maureen, are there any of these tests and products effective for adults? Yes. Obviously, more kids than adults have autism right now, just because when it got big. But these work for anybody. But I'll say this: if you've got a child born in the 20th century, or as my daughter says, "Dad, were you born in the 1900s?" You need to test genetics. Kids born in the 20th century with autism have a much higher likelihood of having genetic abnormalities causing autism. Get that genetic testing done. I don't care if your doctor orders it. I don't care if you get it from our website, but get it done, okay? You will find an answer, and we hope that answer is treatable. Rodney, very informative today. Thank you. Rodney, I'm going to take that as a big compliment because he's on every week listening. Crystal, what can I give my 4-year-old to help him? He's nonverbal. If you're new to Spectrum Awakening, you're going to start in one of two places. If you want to go simple, start with this, Power and Focus. It's our #1 bestseller. It's the first thing I made 20 years ago. It's great, and we're constantly making it better every day. Not every day, every year. And if you want to do a little more, try the Skowron solution. Skowron solution is a 4-part protocol. We were just talking about somebody who was, we were kind of working them through how to adjust it, but one of those two. Diane says, thank you. You're welcome. Jen says, amazing. Thank you. You're welcome. Molly, what about autism caused by HIE after traumatic birth? I've just never had a patient with that, Molly, so I don't know. I don't have that answer. I still have more to learn. Kim, do we need to space these supplements out or can be given all at once? You can give almost everything together except the, if you're concerned, you can give the binder a little bit away. If you're going to give fiber or prebiotics, a little bit away. I still recommend the binder with the grapefruit, the colloidal silver, and the biofilm. But if you're taking other stuff, maybe keep the binder away a bit. And the serotonin supplement you want to use before bed. That's about it. But everything else you can be done. Martina, is this live going to be saved? Yes, this Facebook Live will be on our Facebook page as long as they let us. We also turn this into a YouTube video as long as YouTube doesn't ban it, as we have been banned in the past. And we put this on our podcasts, which are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. We're also starting to upload stuff onto our new Rumble site. We only have one video on there. It's a video about the big V word I can't say, but Rumble is allowing, things that YouTube is not. So we're putting stuff on Rumble if you want to find us there. Jasmine said, Martina, yes, he saves all his lives. Right. Crystal, GI map showed mild mental issues and gut imbalance. Yeah, we got to work on this stuff. Win, thank you for everything. You have helped my child so much. Forever grateful. Thank you, Win. I appreciate that. And I'm going to wrap up with that. We're going to end on a high note. Aww. But it's, I wish I could get to all the questions, but we always wrap up after an hour. First off, thank you guys, for doing everything you can for your child. I know a lot of pediatricians out there say, hey, there's nothing out there you can do, which is why we really want to focus on science and clinical experience of 20 years. Knowledge isn't power anymore because of the internet and Google. We can all look this stuff up and anybody can look it up. But what I really want to guide you with is me working with these kids for 20 years. And I know your kids can get better. I know they can get their language back. I know they can have better behavior. I know they can look you in the eye and have a conversation with you and say, I love you. I know they can mainstream in school and graduate and get jobs because I've seen it. Okay. And I want to do this for every child with autism around the world. All right. That's why we have Spectrum Awakening. That's why we have the lab test. That's why we have the education. That's why we have the podcast. That's why we have our supplements. That's why they're gluten-free, dairy-free. That's why we have the 30-day return policy. And again, this is all World Autism Awareness Week. So you can use coupon autism25 to get 25% off anything on our website. And just thank you guys for doing everything that you can for your kid. That's where I was going. And please share this stuff. I love helping you, but we need to spread the word together. So if everybody could just take one person that they know as a kid on the spectrum, say, hey, watch this video, watch this Facebook, watch this podcast, try to help your child and see if it works. We want to make it as riskless as possible to just jump in and do something and take a chance. So thank you guys. We will be away next week. I've got school break, so I'll be out with my family. But I hope you guys have a great first half of April, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye, everybody.